Shinpei and Akane are siblings but not blood-related. They met when they were still children. However, while still young, they faced many misfortunes. They lost their parents, grew up in poverty, lived apart with adoptive relatives, sometimes abusive, and encountered some of the worst adults you'll ever meet in a story. But if life did not spare them challenges, it at least gave them love. It is that love that will guide Shinpei to find his sister again after many years, drive him to rebuild their family, and help them overcome the obstacles that arise. So, from now on, let's get to know the story of Shinpei and Akane. The story begins when Shinpei's mother marries Akane's father, and the two become siblings. Shinpei seems very excited about his new sister, but she does not seem very happy about her new brother. The mother says he must take good care of her, and Shinpei will carry that request with him forever. We have a time skip of a few years. In that future, Shinpei and Akane are orphans. Very young, they have already lost both father and mother. Shinpei still cries over the loss of his mother, but both he and his sister will need to go on with their lives. But apart. That mustached gentleman will take care of Shinpei until he becomes independent, and Akane will be adopted by her aunt. And finally, we arrive in the present. 3 years after Shinpei's mother's funeral, we are at the Takaoka workshop. Shinpei works at that workshop, but he is not there at the moment. Where could he be? His boss suspects he is skipping work, but Tetsu says he went to the bank. It seems to be his hobby. Take his pathetic paycheck and save it all in the bank. Pathetic? The boss says the salary is generous, actually. Pathetic or generous, Shinpei counts what he has saved from that pay, and the amount recorded in his little notebook is 1 million. He is very excited to have earned that money. It seems that was a real goal for Shinpei. Shinpei visits his mother at the cemetery. There we learn more about his goal. He wanted to save 1 million yen so he could rent an apartment to live with Akane and pay for her school fees and clothes. He is so happy with his success that he mentally rehearses how the siblings' reunion will go. And, spoiler, it will be very emotional, at least in Shinpei's imagination. But maybe he should have practiced that rehearsal somewhere other than the cemetery, so as not to disturb the other grieving people around. Anyway, Shinpei goes to the salon where Akane's aunt works to reunite with his sister. There he asks the aunt for custody of Akane. She says that Shinpei's wish dates back to when the siblings separated 3 years earlier, and that since then he has felt it is his duty to protect his sister. The aunt is moved by Shinpei's devotion and agrees to give her custody to him. She understands that leaving that house would be good for Akane, since they are very poor and Akane lived a life of many restrictions. On his side, Shinpei imagines that Akane had always been waiting for the moment when her brother would come to take her. But actually, no. The aunt says that at no point in those 3 years did Akane ask about her brother. It seems Akane never returned Shinpei's feelings, poor Shinpei. In any case, Shinpei had already completed his goal there, and he would pick Akane up from school. He says goodbye and leaves. Shinpei is very happy with everything that is happening, but at her school things may not be so happy. A suspicious teacher accuses Akane of stealing 1 million yen from the school, but she denies it. He is not confronting her alone. An accomplice stands with him and tries to intimidate Akane, but she is brave and refuses to back down. They argue that because she is poor, arrogant, and without relatives, people will be more likely to believe the teacher's accusation than her words. The teacher then threatens to expel her from school. Emotional blackmail, since Akane attends because her mother paid the fees before she died. He even claims her adoptive mother worked herself to death to pay for Akane's schooling. Being expelled would deeply disappoint her. But you may be wondering what they wanted from Akane. What could a poor girl possibly have that would lead those old men to blackmail her? The answer is ugly, as the teacher's gesture makes clear. Akane reluctantly gives in to the suspicious teacher's demands and begins to undress in front of the adults. The teacher makes an indecent proposition. He asks Akane to be his woman. Despite her vulnerability, Akane maintains a fighting stance, which intimidates the suspicious teacher. He becomes violent, demanding not only her body but her submission. He has clearly lost his senses and is putting Akane in serious danger. But Akane is saved by a call from outside the room. Someone has come to pick her up. After that shameful scene, teacher and student go to see who it is. It is none other than Shinpei. Akane is embarrassed by her brother's display. Shinpei asks her to call him Oni-san. He has been waiting to hear those words for a long time, Instead, she chooses to insult him. Trying to regain his composure, Shinpei speaks to the suspicious teacher while Akane remains distrustful of him. He says he has come to take Akane home because the siblings will now live together. Unlike her brother, Akane does not seem to want to live with him. The suspicious teacher repeats the story he used to blackmail Akane, warning Shinpei that she stole the money. Akane challenges the accusation, asking what proof he has. He says his evidence is that he saw her leave the principal's office, so that, he claims, proves she took the money. The situation becomes confused. Akane does not deny entering the principal's office, but says she did so on the teacher's orders, while the teacher denies having given any orders. Seeing it would never be resolved, Shinpei hurriedly offers all the money he has saved to clear Akane of the accusations and prevent her expulsion. Akane remains combative and even seems willing to confront her own brother to prove her innocence, but Shinpei asks her to be quiet and let him handle it. He kneels, pleading for her forgiveness. Moved by the money, the suspicious teacher agrees to forgive Akane. With the matter resolved, Shinpei takes his sister away from the school. Now we move to Shinpei's apartment, where he shows her the place and a photo of them with their mother when they were children. The young man can't help noticing that Akane is now almost a woman, and an attractive one. Akane complains about living in such a small place. Although Shinpei is certain they are siblings, Akane knows they are not related by blood and does not feel safe there, so she decides to return to her aunt's house. Shinpei doesn't want her to go and tries to change the subject. He brings up the teacher's accusation and seems to believe the teacher more than Akane, which only irritates her. Shinpei says that even if the accusation is false, she's a troublesome girl, so teachers might try to expel her even without proof. Akane, however, says she would quit that school herself because it's a horrible place. Hearing that Akane would give up school makes Shinpei furious. Because he was so poor, Shinpei never had the chance to go to college and had to start working right after high school, so he becomes very upset when Akane casually says she would quit. The situation escalates. Shinpei still insists the core issue is the alleged theft, while Akane wants to quit school because of the teacher's harassment. Finally, Akane ends the siblings' short reunion and flees back to her old home. Akane then walks the streets at night. Life is not easy for her. It seems she has problems at home, at school, and even at her brother's place. As she walked, Tetsu recognized Akane and took her to a diner. There he talked with her about Shinpei, admiring how hard Shinpei worked to help his sister, and how he saved every yen in the bank. Akane begins to feel empathy for her brother. She remembers that the money Shinpei had worked so hard to save was spent just to clear her of the teacher's false accusation, and she decides to get it back from the suspicious teacher. Meanwhile, Shinpei is desolate over Akane's departure. Tetsu calls him to warn about her situation. He had been following Akane as she walked through the streets and was keeping Shinpei informed. Because Akane was walking in an adult neighborhood, Shinpei runs to find her. After all, an adult district at night is not a safe place for a young girl. That neighborhood has many pubs, hotels, and even cabarets. The suspicious teacher is in one of those cabarets, drinking and laughing with his accomplice about having taken Shinpei's money. Akane interrupts their improper leisure. Don't ask how a student in uniform managed to get into a cabaret at night. The important thing is to recover Shinpei's money. Akane demands the money back, but the accomplice feigns ignorance and denies the accusation. The teacher, however, is more talkative and ends up confessing. Because Akane had been blamed for the theft, he needed to force her to quit school so she could serve as his scapegoat. Akane is in serious danger as the men turn to physical violence. The accomplice, having restrained her, whispers indecent things in her ear while the teacher kicks her. Akane collapses, vulnerable, as the men prepare to commit another crime against her. But at the most critical moment, a voice calls for Akane. It is Shinpei. He has come to rescue his sister when she needs him most. The suspicious teacher still tries to lie to Shinpei, but even the cabaret women are fed up with those men, and themselves report their misdeeds. Finally, Shinpei ends the scene by landing a punch on the suspicious teacher and demanding that he apologize for treating Akane that way. Apologies may not be enough for what they did, but if Shinpei is satisfied with that, so be it. After that intense night, the siblings leave. Heading home together, Shinpei worries that Akane might be cold. She seems a bit sad about everything, but Shinpei tries to cheer her up, saying she can let him handle the school problems. But Akane declared that she could not live with Shinpei. She was worried about leaving her aunt alone. After all, her aunt had cared for her for the past 3 years. Shinpei's greatest dream was to live with his sister again, so he asked her to reconsider. He shouted as Akane left. We return to Akane's aunt's salon. For some reason, everything in the salon is destroyed, and the aunt is very sad about Akane leaving. Akane returns to her aunt. The aunt explains the salon was trashed because her husband heard Akane had left, and in a fit of anger, broke everything. Akane understands and helps her aunt tidy up. At that moment, Akane's uncle enters the salon, and we see why. Another challenge in the young girl's path. We are introduced to Akane's adoptive father, and unfortunately, it's not a very warm introduction. Akane calls him a gigolo, and we're going to do the same. The gigolo doesn't seem to have a healthy relationship with his adopted daughter, as we see the two exchanging insults, offenses, and even aggression. The relationship between Akane's adoptive mother, whom we'll call aunt, and the gigolo, is also quite bad. In this case, it's a relationship of a woman who is submissive to her husband. The aunt is clearly unhappy in her marriage, so much so that Akane even advises her to give up on him. But the aunt has faith that things can still be fixed, much to Akane's agony. After this first scene, the gigolo goes off to do what he knows how to do very well. Nothing useful. In fact, he's in the square betting on horses with the aunt's money, that bastard. But his peace of mind ends when the loan shark comes to collect a debt of 1 million yen, about $5,000. And the gigolo should pay after all. It was his aunt's beauty salon that was mortgaged, and the loan sharks were already there, assessing the belongings to confiscate them. The situation was serious. The salon was the source of the household income. Without the salon, everyone there would go hungry. But the gigolo has no shame whatsoever. He's asking Akane to clear his name. She has nothing to do with it. But if the salon were confiscated, the one who would suffer the greatest loss would be her aunt. It wasn't Akane's fault, but only Akane could save her aunt. The gigolo knew this and took advantage of it. While Akane pondered what to do, the loan sharks began to look at her with sinful eyes, and they made the indecent proposal of taking the girl to work with the loan sharks and thus pay off the gigolo's debt. Akane, to save her aunt, accepts. My God. After Akane's kidnapping by the loan sharks, you'd imagine the gigolo would be desperate to save her. But no, he's calmly drinking at home, without a care in the world. At that moment, the doorbell rings. It was a staff member from Akane's school. She came to deliver the wallet with Shinpei's money. This wallet had been confiscated by the shameless teacher from the last chapter. Since the situation had been resolved, the wallet would be returned to Akane, who was the rightful owner. But unfortunately, the gigolo received the wallet. The school staff member asks Akane to return to classes, but the gigolo doesn't care about what Akane does, about her future, about her current situation. What he cares about is that he has a wallet full of money in his hands. It was party time, but before the gigolo could start the party, Shinpei arrives to try and talk to Akane. Akane isn't home. We know where she is. The gigolo knows where she is. But Shinpei will only find out later. Only after a while, and after a few beers, does the gigolo finally announce that Akane wouldn't be coming home. After all, she would be working all night, in a place where she could make a lot of money just for being a woman. Shinpei rushes off to save his sister once again. The young man doesn't have a moment's peace. We then see where Akane was, at the nightclub. I expected that, at least, the loan sharks would give her a less indecent job. But no. All the villains in this story do speed runs to go to hell. Akane is a very strong and brave girl, but even she couldn't help but be scared by what was happening. That place wasn't where a girl like her should be. But life's unfortunate circumstances pushed her into that hole. But we'll talk about that later. Because now, Akane has a client. And, luckily for us, the client was our dear Shinpei. Akane would be safe for now, but Shinpei wanted explanations. After all, although the gigolo had said where Akane was, he certainly hadn't said why Akane was there. Akane comforted him, saying that she had just arrived there, so she was still unharmed. Shinpei was relieved, as his sister hadn't been violated. So all that remained was to take her home, after the affection, a scolding for the girl's actions. Yes, she did it out of altruism, to try to protect the one who had cared for her life. But not even that would excuse risking her physical integrity. Still so young, and in such a disgusting place. But the emotional reunion of the siblings is interrupted by the end of Shinpei's session. If he wanted to continue the conversation with Akane, he would have to pay for an extension, or he would have to leave, because Akane's next client was already there, thirsty for lust, and Akane is in trouble again. The lecherous old man took Akane to the room. Shinpei finds himself immobilized by the loan shark. What will happen? The situation is dramatic, with Shinpei being beaten by the cabaret's security guard, and Akane being taken to the small room with the lecherous old man. Akane is trying to buy time in a futile hope that something will happen. But what could happen? Let's try to see if there's any hope at the aunt's and the gigolo's house. The aunt finds Shinpei's money, which the gigolo had confiscated. But the gigolo realizes this and does another speed run of misogyny. He confessed that it was because of him that Akane was kidnapped by the loan sharks. And for him, Akane was an excellent source of money if she sold her body at the cabaret. And, with money, the gigolo wouldn't need the aunt anymore. Until finally the aunt comes to her senses and loses any hope she still had in saving the gigolo. The gigolo was already far beyond saving, but perhaps Akane could still be saved with Shinpei's money. But for that, it was necessary to hurry. On the other side of the front, Shinpei does what he can. And what he can do is make noise and create confusion, to see if he can attract the police. After all, that cabaret was operating with high school girls there. Shinpei's attempt was good. He managed to buy a few minutes. After all, no decent person would feel comfortable knowing that place had a high school girl. Only the old pervert and the loan sharks would. But on the other hand, Shinpei had never been beaten up so badly in his life. Thanks to the time Shinpei gained, his aunt managed to bring Shinpei's money to pay the loan sharks off the gigolo's debt. And then the loan shark declared that the two siblings should be allowed to go, as if he wasn't one of the main villains there. With that episode resolved, the aunt asks Akane to go live with Shinpei. After all, it was the second time he had risked his own safety to save his sister. While at his aunt's house, there would only be the risk of more unpleasant situations like this. And so, Akane finally goes to live with Shinpei permanently. Will new challenges arise in the siblings' lives? We'll find out in the next chapters.
Life hasn't been easy for Akane. She was orphaned once, adopted, then orphaned again. Adopted a second time by her aunt, and suffered abuses from her uncle. And now her older brother Shinpei wants her custody. She's a bit hot-headed and aggressive, and this has made it difficult for them to get along. In this episode, we'll meet Chio and her older brother. Perhaps by meeting other siblings, Akane will be able to see her brother in a new light. We'll see. The day begins for the Amamiya siblings, marking the start of their new life living together in Shinpei's modest house. Shinpei's house is so modest that they had to improvise a room for Akane, creating walls with boxes and furniture to ensure the privacy a young girl needs. The problem is that Akane's room is in the way to the bathroom, and Shinpei needs to use it. The new living arrangement brings several unprecedented situations to Shinpei's life, and he's quite excited about the new things. The problem is that he chooses some strange things to get excited about, like, for example, admiring his and Akane's underwear drying on the same clothesline. You're a good guy, Shinpei, but you give Akane reasons to be suspicious. It's obvious she would be embarrassed and nervous seeing her own brother admiring her panties. Shinpei still tries to argue that there was no reason for Akane to be so hostile. After all, they are siblings. But it's not an argument that Akane accepted, obviously. The next round between the two siblings is when Shinpei notices Akane's cell phone lying around while she's distracted hanging laundry on the clothesline. Shinpei reasons that he's not only Akane's brother, but also her guardian. Therefore, it's his obligation to inspect her cell phone. And he won't shirk his responsibilities because he's a good brother. Look how many men's names are in those contacts. Shinpei was impressed by the list of male contacts on Akane's cell phone. Naturally, Akane wasn't going to passively accept another violation of her privacy, and she went into another confrontation with her brother to get her cell phone back, which resulted in yet another conflict. Shinpei made sure to delete most of the contacts. In his view, a young girl like Akane should only have 2 or 3 male contacts. To conclude his rant, he even warned that if Akane had a boyfriend, Shinpei would have to approve the relationship first. Shinpei had crossed the line that Akane would tolerate. Tired of seeing her brother invading her privacy, scolding her and trying to impose a standard on her, she had no other solution but to run away from home, leaving Shinpei talking to himself. Akane then goes to the arcade to cool off from the morning's events. She is accompanied by Tetsuo, to whom she begins to complain about her brother. She also takes the opportunity to borrow some money. Akane does not intend to return to Shinpei's house. Perhaps she will stay at a friend's house tonight. Tetsuo is worried to see Akane so upset. As he is friends with Shinpei, he tries to sponsor a reconciliation between the siblings, asking Akane to return to her house, but Akane says that she will not return home because she never had one. After Akane leaves the house, Shinpei receives a call from Akane's teacher so they can talk about the recent events involving the student. After a recap of recent events, Shinpei begins to understand Akane's situation a little better and why their relationship isn't going the way he expected. Shinpei gradually begins to realize that he was wrong for not trying to understand Akane, and for only being concerned with his idealized model of what a sibling relationship should be. In trying to become an ideal brother, he ended up hurting his sister even more, but little by little he will understand and mature. At work, Tetsuo tells Shinpei that Akane was loose on the street because, in her mind, she doesn't have a home to go back to. Shinpei reinforces his resolution. Akane does have a home, and her home is Shinpei's home because they are siblings. She might be a little confused, but Shinpei had faith that she would come back. We return to Akane, where she is spending time in the park and recapping the events of that day. Yes, Shinpei had gone too far in his intrusions into Akane's space, but Akane wasn't that upset. For Akane, what remained of that conflict, instead of resentment, was the comfort of having family nearby. There was no malice. It was a fight between siblings. Surely they could still talk and make amends. But Akane wasn't the only one having problems with her brother. Young Chiyo was having an argument with her brother too. But the argument wasn't about space, but about presence. Chiyo wanted her brother to stay with her, to play with her in that park. But her brother had other plans. So he tells Chiyo to wait there while he leaves for where he intended to go. With little Chiyo alone in the park, Akane goes to keep her company after all. It's never good to leave such a young girl unattended. Akane knew this well, which is why she sympathized with young Chiyo. But Chiyo was coughing a lot. She certainly wasn't healthy. Then the two girls talked about their brothers. Although her brother had abandoned Chiyo at the park, she still loved him. But what about Akane? Chiyo asked if Akane loved Shinpei, but Akane still couldn't answer that question. And apparently, the place Chiyo's brother wanted to go was the subway station. But why? Hey, did he just steal that man's wallet? That's not cool. The police didn't like that attitude either. Better run. With the money obtained, and after escaping from the police, Chiyo's brother returns to the park to look for his sister. Chiyo is very happy to see her brother well, but she herself is coughing a lot, until she finally collapses. Luckily, Akane was there to help little Chiyo, but now they will need to seek medical help. And so, Chiyo is receiving first aid at the hospital, assisted by Akane. Meanwhile, Chiyo's brother is trying to convince the doctor to apply a more effective treatment to his sister. After all, she has been coughing for quite some time and is not getting better. But look, it seems that the doctor is just another one of the horrible adults in this universe. He doesn't seem to take Chiyo's condition seriously. Maybe he wanted money. The siblings were poor, but Chiyo's brother could get some money if it could really cure Chiyo. Chiyo's brother then heads home to get the money he has obtained. But he encounters an unexpected and unpleasant visit. It was the police who came to confiscate the money the boy was stealing, but the boy needed the money now. Seeing that he wouldn't be able to recover the money from the policeman, especially since apparently the policeman was just doing his job, the boy runs away from home to look for alternatives. Meanwhile, at the hospital, a representative from the Child Welfare Council arrives where Chiyo is hospitalized. He reveals the siblings' difficult past. Their father had died 2 years ago, and their mother, an alcoholic, decided to abandon the children to live with another man. Since then, the Child Welfare Council has been trying to find adoptive parents for them, but has not been successful in finding anyone interested in adopting both of them together. The solution, then, would be to separate the siblings. There was already a couple interested in adopting Chiyo. Chiyo's brother then returns to the hospital and reunites with his sister, where they share a closer moment. The girl comments that she had a dream, that Santa Claus would bring her brother a pair of sneakers as a gift, since he always wore torn sneakers. The brother is moved by Chiyo's kind wishes and says that perhaps Santa Claus can also cure Chiyo permanently. We transition to the next day. Chiyo is sleeping at the hospital, and her brother is having a more serious conversation with Akane. The brother comments that he needs to earn more money, since his money had been confiscated by the police the previous day. Akane asks if this was because the money was stolen, which makes the boy uncomfortable. Yes, he was committing a reprehensible act, but he was trying to convince himself that morally what he was doing was acceptable. Adults obtained money through other immoral means, for questionable uses. Why couldn't he steal money to protect his sister? Akane condescends to the boy and asks him, at least, to be careful. The brother then endorses how much he does all that for his sister's sake, which creates empathy on Akane's part. She saw Shinpei in that boy and couldn't help but blush at the similarity of commitment that brothers have for their sisters. Akane really sympathized with the boy. She decided to buy him a pair of sneakers to surprise him. Meanwhile, the boy is working again in his favorite place, the subway station, and continuing his usual line of work. That is, stealing from middle-aged workers, tired from work and with their guard down, perfect prey to have their wallets stolen. One thing I didn't mention before is that the boy has the bad habit of crossing the subway tracks to throw off pursuers after a theft. And again, he tries the maneuver he was already an expert at, but unfortunately, all that talk about sneakers earlier was foreshadowing, and for a very sad accident. Right at the moment the boy jumped and crossed the subway tracks, his sneakers came undone, and to his bad luck, the subway was arriving at the station right when he jumped. The faces of the other passengers indicate that something got way out of the boy's control. We make another transition to the hospital where Chiyo is hospitalized. At the hospital, as Akane arrives to visit Chiyo, she ends up hearing from the nurses about what we feared. There was no miracle. There was no turnaround. The boy had been run over. He would never return to see his sister again. Akane runs to help Chiyo, but sees her with her future adoptive parents. Chiyo still didn't know the ultimate fate of her brother. Perhaps she wouldn't even be able to understand what had happened to her brother, since she is so young. But even young, both Akane and Chiyo learned a sad but true lesson. It's always necessary to move on. Eventually, Chiyo would find out about her brother's fate, but she needed to move on. Seeing her friend from a distance, Akane bids farewell to Chion, leaving behind the sneakers she bought as a gift, now as a memory of something that can never be reality. Spending time with those siblings made Akane miss her own brother. The fight they had was in the past. Small things should never erase what truly matters. And what truly mattered to Akane was being close to her brother.
After meeting Chiyo and her brother, Akane begins to understand Shinpei a little better. And now, she returns home, determined to finally start a new family life together with her brother. And in this arc, we will have Shinpei's perspective on his new reality with Akane. We will see how Shinpei tries to make Akane trust him more. We will see how Shinpei deals with the conflict between his nature and his reason. We will see how Shinpei needs to be stricter, if it's for Akane's good. Go, Shinpei! Dawn at the Amamiya residence. However, today is an unusual morning, because today there are two Amamiyas there, Shinpei, who is the official resident, and Akane, who is the honorary resident of that house. Shinpei is truly moved. It had long been his wish that Akane would come live with him. They had some problems in recent days, but now Shinpei only wants Akane to trust him more, and to finally feel at home living there. The conversation is going very well, but Shinpei and Tetsuo's food has arrived. They love that food, but Mio is worried whether those guys will pay the bill they owe. Maybe Mio can help Shinpei, right? How could Shinpei make Akane trust him more? Do you know Mio? Mio is not very patient with those two today. Trying to end that conversation quickly and get back to work, she blurts out, "I don't know. Why don't you try inviting her to an amusement park or the zoo?" Mio may have given a suggestion without caring much, but Shinpei loved the idea. Shinpei then runs home to invite Akane to the park. When he arrives, he is greeted with an "Okari, welcome back." And again, tears of happiness fall. Shinpei is truly a very emotional guy. Shinpei then gets straight to the point. "On Sunday, we're going to the amusement park. You and your brother." Akane finds that a bit embarrassing. Usually, teenage girls don't go to amusement parks with their brothers. But Shinpei doesn't see anything wrong with going to the amusement park with his little sister. So he goes to sleep excited and waiting for Sunday to come soon. Akane still tries to complain, saying she never agreed to go. But it was already too late. Shinpei was already in a deep sleep. Sunday arrives and our heroes are already at the park. The day promises to be very fun, maybe for Shinpei, but Akane is just embarrassed. Shinpei looked like one of those kids going to play in the garden with a net to catch insects. But he was almost an adult. How embarrassing. Everyone around is laughing. Shinpei then decides that the first ride they will go on is the roller coaster. After all, Akane always liked that as a child, right? Let's go. Akane may have liked it in childhood, but Shinpei is the one who's really scared. It's his first time on a roller coaster, and he's even crying in terror. But after they returned to the ground, Shinpei's confidence came back. It was nothing. Let's go to the next one, Akane. Akane scolds her brother again. After all, he couldn't even properly enjoy the roller coaster because he was so frightened. So, the next ride is the Viking ship. And anyone watching would think Shinpei is already a veteran on high-thrill rides. While the siblings enjoy the park rides, we see Shinpei and Mio's boss talking. They are talking exactly about the siblings. Mio is a little regretful for having given a tip without thinking much, But the boss knew that amusement parks held a bigger meaning for the siblings. He remembers when they still lived with their mother. The three of them were really very poor, so there wasn't much they could do at that age. But young Akane sometimes wanted to play at the park, like the other kids her age. Shinpei couldn't get money to take her, but he could get free tickets to ride the cheaper attractions. Shinpei did that with a good heart, but Akane was still too young to understand the value of his affection, so she threw tantrums and complained about only being able to ride the cheap attractions. On those occasions, Shinpei had to be strict and teach Akane that one should respect others' good intentions. Akane didn't act out of malice. She acted like a child, and a child with few options in life because she was poor and an orphan. But she still received a scolding from Shinpei. Shinpei didn't do it because he liked it, but sometimes being the older brother means doing what must be done. Back in the present, even older, Shinpei hadn't changed at all. I mean, today he already had a little money. Not much, but enough to give Akane what she didn't have in childhood. And his salary was still enough to buy an extra ice cream for Akane. Here, Akane, this ice cream is delicious. Because Shinpei had worked hard to repay a debt he felt he had, for not being able to take Akane on the roller coaster when she was a child, Akane understood that it was also her turn to make up for not appreciating her brother's effort to give even a little fun to her. And then she thanks her brother for taking her to the park. For Shinpei, that small gesture made it all worthwhile. Maybe finally the two can be a family again, like when they were children, going to the amusement park with free tickets, but with the love of millions. And then a new day arrives at the Takaoka Automotive Maintenance Factory. Tetsuo and Shinpei are working, but they always have time for a little chat to distract from the work. The problem is that Tetsu decided to talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that Akane today was almost a woman, and a beautiful woman, and Shinpei was almost a man, just a little older than Akane. Could he see Akane as a sister, and not as a woman? Without a doubt, it's the kind of topic no one wants to hear, but Shinpei assures he only saw Akane as his sister by affection. Later, when he was arriving home after another hard day's work, Fate asks him to prove his words. Did he really see Akane only as his sister? Prove it, Shinpei. Don't change your opinion just because you saw her undressing by accident. Akane sent him out of the house until she finished changing. Shinpei apologizes and asks to come in as soon as possible. I wouldn't say Shinpei passed the sibling test with flying colors. I'd say he barely passed. Shinpei then suggests that maybe it's better they find a new way to sleep in that room. Regardless of Akane being Shinpei's sister, she was a woman before anything else, and it would be difficult to sleep so close to Shinpei. So Shinpei said he could make a space to sleep inside the closet. Maybe Japanese closets are quite spacious, but anyway. The problem is that Shinpei would have to clean the closet first. After all, there were many prohibited magazines in there. We must not forget that Shinpei was also a very young boy. That stuff might not be very pleasant to see, but it's certainly not something abnormal in the life of a young man of that age. So the way was to sleep in the kitchen. So Shinpei heads there and leaves the entire room to Akane. But the worst was yet to come for Shinpei. The truth is he couldn't sleep. It's hard to admit, but Shinpei couldn't sleep after having seen Akane half naked. Don't judge poor Shinpei. Sometimes the body doesn't follow the rules of the mind. Shinpei tries everything to push those sinful thoughts out of his head. No, inflicting pain on yourself will not make your mind purer, Shinpei. Maybe if you count sheep, your mind will forget it and you can sleep. Let's try. 1 sheep jumping the fence, 2 sheep jumping the fence, 3 sheep jumping the fence, 5,678 sheep jumping the fence, 5,679 sheep jumping the fence. Yeah, Shinpei, I think it didn't work. But since it's dawn, maybe it's not better to sleep now. Exhausted, Shinpei had to go to work early. But first, a stop for a coffee at Mio's bar. Mio then asks indiscreetly whether Shinpei managed to remain a brother to Akane, or if he tried to be a man to her. Shinpei answers, maybe his body betrayed him, but his mind was in control 100% of the time. His claim still stands. Akane is his sister, out of consideration, but she is still his sister. Mio argues that perhaps this kind of living arrangement will be very difficult for Shinpei in the long run. Yes, they were siblings by affection, but before that, they are 2 young people with no blood relation, and no parents either. Seeing Shinpei's confusion, Mio then decides not to insist too much. Maybe they don't necessarily see each other as man and woman. Maybe the relationship of trust that the two established over time and through living together is enough for them to live as siblings. While Shinpei was still trying to reconcile his thoughts and emotions, Akane had a sweeter purpose in mind. She wanted to repay her brother at least a little by preparing the evening meal. With dinner ready, she sets the table and waits for her brother to return. But the problem is that today Shinpei returned later than usual. Akane ends up falling asleep right there. Shinpei returns home, still thoughtful about Mio's words. He then arrives home and notices that dinner is served. It wasn't one of the best dinners, because Akane still had a lot to learn as a cook, but it was a meal that reassured Shinpei. Seeing Akane there asleep, after preparing Shinpei's food, made him certain. Before being a woman, Akane was his cute little sister. And another day begins in Shinpei's life. He is trying to fix a client's car with Tetsuo, but things don't seem easy. At that moment, two well-dressed and imposing girls pass by. They catch the two boys' attention by their respectable presence. Tetsuo explains that it's because they are students of Seiwa Academy, an elite choice that accepts only very rich girls as students. While they admired the girls, Tetsu made suspicious moves with an oil spray can in his hand, and the clumsy, perverted mechanic ends up spraying oil on a lady who was passing by. Tetsu and Shinpei even apologized to the lady, but she was very snobbish. Instead of accepting the apologies and the attempt to clean the oil stains, that lady preferred to leave those two, calling them dirty and poor. That lady was not good news, and if she is not good news, we will probably see her again soon. Shinpei returns home after the workday, and it seems he had gotten used to the dinner Akane made the day before. He arrived asking if she had made dinner again, and Akane offers snacks instead of dinner. It's good that Akane is feeling more comfortable living with Shinpei, but maybe she is getting too comfortable. She was spending most of her day doing nothing around the house, and Shinpei was beginning to worry about Akane's lack of perspective. Nervously, he threw the snacks on the floor. Akane even argues that she was doing something during the day, yes. She was looking for a part-time job to help with household expenses. As soon as she got one, maybe she'd straighten out. But Shinpei wasn't worried about money. Yes, he didn't have much, but the priority was Akane's studies. Shinpei demanded that Akane return to studying. But that was the trigger for another day of fights between the siblings. Shinpei had good ideas and good intentions, but he executed them horribly. You won't convince Akane to study again by insulting her. Obviously, she wouldn't let it go, and would snap back. And the situation escalates. Now the two siblings engage in physical confrontation. Shinpei's boss had come to visit them, but ended up seeing that lamentable scene. I'm not a defender of violence, but truth be told, Shinpei got Akane to promise to return to studying after giving her an arm lock. We hope he doesn't go to that extreme again, but I forgive Shinpei today, because Akane really needs to go back to school. The next day, Shinpei tries to arrange a new school for Akane. She had dropped out after the episode with the perverted teacher, and now Shinpei tried to find a school where she could enroll. Shinpei had contacted Akane's former teacher, the one who had visited Shinpei in previous episodes. That teacher is a good person, and tells Shinpei that Akane had always been very intelligent, and could pass the entrance exam of any school she wanted. So Shinpei asks, if Akane had the potential to be admitted to any school, would she be able to enroll at Seiwa Academy? The teacher said yes. The problem wouldn't be Akane's academic performance, but whether she could afford the school's fees. Shinpei decided that Seiwa would be the best place for Akane, and asks her to take the entrance exam. Akane objects. She says they are too poor for that school. Shinpei insists, take the test and then we'll think about the money. Shinpei couldn't study when he was young. He had to start working very early, but he was correct in his strategy. There's no point in discarding a chance before having it. First get the chance, and then decide the best choice. The next day, Shinpei goes to Seiwa to enroll Akane in the admission process. He would speak directly with the principal to settle the bureaucratic details. The problem was that Shinpei is really a clumsy guy. He spilled his coffee on the table, and, to make things worse, the vice principal was exactly the lady Tetsuo had splashed with oil, and that lady still remembered Shinpei's face. She wasn't very willing to help him. Shinpei communicates his intention to enroll his sister in that school, but that wish was enough for the vice principal to burst out laughing. How could those poor siblings want to study at an elite school like Seiwa? At least Shinpei makes it clear that Akane will take the exam. As for the enrollment fees, he looked at the cost, and from his expression we can see the size of the hole he'd gotten himself into. And the day goes on as usual. It was already night, and Shinpei still hadn't returned home. Akane was worried about her brother, and asks Tetsuo if he was still at the shop. Tetsuo says he was working another job that night. Immediately, Akane goes out to check if her brother was all right. And he was there, at that construction site, at night, doing a very hard job. He needed a lot of money for Akane's enrollment. He trusted that Akane would be admitted, and couldn't fail her on the financial side. A coworker of Shinpei then brings him a lunchbox. No, it wasn't the coworker who bought that lunchbox. After all, that lunchbox had profiteroles for dessert, and that was his favorite dessert. Only one person would know that. Akane then returns home, since she needs to be ready for the entrance exam the next day. Perhaps the siblings had gone through difficult times. Perhaps they had quarreled a bit more than acceptable. But at that point, the siblings were probably converging toward the family that Shinpei and his mother always wanted. As for Akane, she really needs to rest, because what comes next will demand a lot from her.
Finally, the day of the entrance exam for Seiwa School arrives. The students have already begun their tests, and Akane is focused on answering hers. The vice principal watches her angrily. To her, a poor, dirty girl like Akane, sister of a poor, dirty boy like Shinpei, does not deserve to study at a prestigious school like Seiwa. She inspects Akane's test and reluctantly admits that the young student is very intelligent and would pass the entrance exam if left alone. There are 3 sections on today's exam, and the vice principal notices that Akane has passed 2 of them and would pass math as well. She needs to do something urgently, so she grabs Akane's arm. The vice principal will never allow poor people to soil Seiwa. She then says with a malicious smile, "Cheating on the exam is not allowed." All the other students look up to see what is happening. Akane is surprised by the gesture. The vice principal grabs Akane by the arm and takes her to her office. The other teacher who is administering the exam with her tries to argue that he hadn't seen any suspicious behavior from Akane during the test. But the vice principal slams the classroom door in his face. She wasn't concerned with doing what was fair. She only wanted to prevent Akane's success. And so the old woman and the young girl head toward the principal's office. What are the plans of that Machiavellian woman? In fact, the vice principal was counting on time. Without the math test score, Akane would fail the exam. So it would be enough for Akane to stay in the principal's office until the test ended. Then everything would be solved. Akane declares her innocence and asks to return to the exam. The vice principal doesn't like seeing that Akane is still fighting back, and she throws a pencil case at her. Then she utters her insults, saying that a poor person like Akane should never try to enter that prestigious school because it was not her place. Time is on the vice principal's side, so she decides to end the matter then and there, closing and locking the principal's office door with Akane inside as she returns to the exam room. Akane still tries to open the door, but it is locked, preventing her from continuing the exam. She then tries to use her physical strength and charges into the door, hoping to knock it down. But obviously, a small girl like Akane could never accomplish that, and the most she managed was to hurt her shoulder. She tries to shout at the door, but unfortunately, at this point, she is desperate. The door would not open just because someone was shouting at it. It seems Akane is losing hope and beginning to panic. Has Akane been defeated by the vice principal? Back in the classroom, the vice principal is approached by the assistant teacher, who asks what happened. She simply says that Akane had given up on the exam and left. The assistant teacher is a good person, but faced with the vice principal's explanation, he limits himself to accepting it. Time is passing, and the end of the exam is approaching. The assistant teacher is still bothered by the vice principal's answer. He decides to go look to see if Akane is still at the school. Maybe he knows that the vice principal is not a trustworthy person. He hears the noises Akane is making and runs to help her. The assistant teacher manages to unlock the door and finds Akane in the office. This is not an appropriate moment to discuss what happened. There are only 8 minutes left in the exam, so the teacher asks Akane to run to the classroom and try to finish the math test. Akane is grateful for one of the rare good acts by an adult in this story and runs back to the room. The assistant teacher is confident she can succeed despite this setback. When the test is over, Shinpei is waiting at the school gate to meet Akane. Perhaps he suffered through the exam even more than Akane herself. But seeing his sister return fills him with joy, and he calls out her name. Shinpei asks Akane if she managed to pass the exam. Akane says she did her best. Shinpei then feels relieved. He is confident that his sister succeeded. But while Shinpei was confident of Akane's success, there was another girl who didn't seem so sure. The parents of that girl had come to pick her up. She, like Akane, was a candidate for enrollment at Seiwa. She told her parents that she had failed the exam. They seemed to be from Osaka and had come all the way to enroll their daughter at Seiwa. Naturally, they were deeply upset by her failure. When the father put on that villainous face, you knew trouble was coming for Akane. The couple appeared wealthy and ready to use money to secure their daughter's admission, by any means necessary. In the principal's office, the principal and vice principal were reviewing the exam results. Akane had placed first. The vice principal made one last attempt, arguing that despite being first, Akane would be a bad influence on the other students. But the principal liked the idea of a poor girl enrolling at Seiwa. Perhaps that would stop the school being seen only as a place for the rich. So, despite the vice principal's objections, the principal approved Akane's enrollment. The vice principal's objections repeated the same nonsense about poverty and so on. The principal, short on patience, told her to call Akane in for the interview and dismissed her. Humiliated by how she'd been treated and forced to accept Akane's enrollment, the vice principal was far from defeated. She could still interfere with the Amamiya plans. Fate put the vice principal in the path of the couple introduced earlier. They tried to start the conversation with a bribe. They offered money and demanded their daughter be admitted despite her failure. Money, however, did not seem to be appealing to the vice principal. She didn't care for the large sum offered. In fact, she despised that couple as much as she did the Amamiyas. To her, Shinpei and Akane were poor, whereas those two were country bumpkins who thought money could solve everything. If she looked down on both, with a cunning move she could set them against each other. With that thought, the vice principal devised her next dirty strategy. She announced that this year's chosen candidate had already been decided and showed the results to the provincial couple. But she added, if the chosen student couldn't make the interview with the principal, the spot might be offered to another candidate. The condition of ensuring the chosen student couldn't attend the interview was broad enough for us to understand that Akane is in trouble again. We shift scenes to the area near a school. Akane is thinking about the vice principal's words. Yes, she had won the exam, but her problem remained that she was poor. While Akane was thoughtful, Shinpei's mind was much calmer, perhaps too calm. He might have benefited from being a little less relaxed. His joy, however, was understandable. He had come to bring the good news. Akane had passed the exam. Akane cut short the poor Shinpei's celebration. She told her brother she would not attend the interview and would not study at Seiwa. She was still resentful from the vice principal's humiliation and justified her decision by citing their inability to afford the tuition. Shinpei challenged her decision and explained his reasons. He knew Akane needed a good education to get a decent job and become independent, a woman who would never have to depend on a husband to survive. Shinpei confessed the guilty fear he carried. He alone was responsible for raising Akane. If money prevented her from attending a good school, he would blame himself. He said Akane had proven her worth, and now it was his turn to prove he could pay the tuition. So he begged her not to give up. Akane left without answering. Had Shinpei's words moved her? Would she go to the Seiwa interview? Whether she attended the interview did not depend only on her. We visit a mansion in Osaka. We're back with the provincial couple from earlier. Why are we with them? They understood the vice principal's hint perfectly. They needed to prevent Akane from attending the Seiwa interview. How? Simple. With the stun gun the husband had been playing with. Life is easy like that. If someone stands in your way, just electrocute them and the problem's solved. Thinking about committing such a horrific act against an innocent girl who had never wronged them, the couple was disturbingly pleased. But it's dangerous for an untrained person to use a stun gun. The husband realized this and decided to practice. See that employee of his? Give him a thunderbolt. There! Now the husband was properly trained with the stun gun and qualified to electrocute innocent girls in the street. The world would be a better place if all violent offenders were trained before committing crimes, wouldn't it? Meanwhile, Akane started the day receiving flowers instead of shocks. Mio congratulated her for passing the Seiwa exam. She said Shinpei had told her the news and had been more excited than Mio had seen him in a long time. Akane was moved to know how happy Shinpei was about her success. But she soon repeated her weary speech about not attending the interview, about being poor, and so on. Akane was more worried than usual. Since Shinpei promised he could pay for her education, he'd been taking many more part-time jobs. He was working as a furniture delivery man, among other jobs. Not only was he taking many shifts, he was pushing himself too hard. He couldn't sleep properly and even dozed off at work. Mio understood Akane's worry but told her not to be so concerned. Yes, Shinpei was working more than he should because he needed money for the tuition. But he was also working harder because he was motivated and happy about his sister's success. That's what gave him the energy. Mio threw Akane a curveball, asking whether she wasn't happy living with Shinpei. Akane quickly denied it but blushed afterward. Their conversation was interrupted when both women heard a car approaching. A rich car pulled up near them. A young man drove it. He greeted Akane. He seemed to know her. He seemed to know Shinpei too, as he asked if Shinpei still wore that same foolish expression. Yes, Shinpei still wore that silly look. Mio asked if Akane knew him, but she remained silent. The young man finally introduced himself. Masato Amamiya. He was an Amamiya, to everyone's surprise. Surprisingly, he was vice president and executive director of his father's company. Masato invited Akane to visit him sometime. After all, they were relatives. He grabbed Akane's bouquet, looked at it maliciously and threw it to the ground, then stepped on it. The rudeness left the girls upset. Masato just laughed and drove off. Mio tried to curse at him for his behavior, but he was already speeding away in his Ferrari. The encounter left more questions than answers. He was an Amamiya, but what relation did he have to Akane? Akane revealed he was her cousin. She grew pensive and gave Mio no further explanation. Mio wasn't satisfied, so she questioned Shinpei's boss. The boss revealed new information. The Amamiyas were relatives on Akane's and her father's side. Shinpei and Akane's mother, Hitomi, had taken the Amamiya name when she married Akane's father. But the boss added that the family was not a united one. When Shinpei and Akane became orphans, despite their wealth, the Amamiyas abandoned them, pretending they weren't related. We pause at the graves of Shinpei and Akane's parents. Shinpei visits their graves to share the news about Akane. He was exhausted from overwork. He talks to his ancestors, telling them Akane passed the exam, and that if she passed the interview, she would be admitted to Seiwa. Shinpei notes that once Akane is admitted, he'll have to pay the school expenses, which amount to 1 million yen. After so much work, Shinpei grows vulnerable. He becomes depressed because, despite all his labor, he can't come close to raising the needed amount. Tetsu notices his friend has fallen asleep atop the family gravestone. He's moved by all Shinpei has done for his family and for Akane. So we visit the Amamiya Corporation. Shinpei appears to be forming a new plan. He had only one way to get the money for Akane's school fee, borrow it from the Amamiya Corporation. So he went to see Masato. There, he bowed profusely and begged Masato for 1 million yen to pay Akane's tuition at Seiwa School. Masato was surprised. He hadn't known Akane wanted to attend that school. But his sadistic streak surfaced, and he laughed at the situation. Akane aiming for a school she couldn't afford, and Shinpei groveling for money from relatives who had once abandoned them. Masato thought of a way to help Shinpei while also satisfying his cruelty. But first, let's stop by that diner over there. Akane was once again freeloading off poor Tetsu, eating at his expense. Then her phone rang. She answered. It was Masato. He said he'd learned Akane wanted to study at Seiwa and mocked her for aiming so high. Akane denied it. She said she never intended to study there. Now Masato challenged her denial. For something false, he said. Shinpei had seemed very certain it was true. Masato told her he had something very interesting to show her. What could be so intriguing? Akane grew curious. She felt a bad premonition but ran out of the diner toward Masato. Masato was in a nightclub in the city. Apparently all the villains in this story liked the pleasures of the night. Akane knew this scene from before and rushed to find out what had happened between Shinpei and Masato. What she saw shocked both her and Tetsu deeply. It's hard to describe the scene in words. Shinpei had been reduced to degrading servility in front of Masato and his friends. Masato, an incurable sadist, kicked Shinpei for no reason. Masato's friends were just as vile, pouring drinks over Shinpei's head and ridiculing him for selling his dignity for money. Akane was distraught at the way her brother was being treated and moved to rescue him, but Tetsu held her back. She screamed at Tetsu, asking why he was holding her. Tetsu explained the damage had already been done. Intervening could risk whatever remaining dignity Shinpei had left that night. Akane found it hard to accept Tetsu's reasoning. Although he had a rational point, seeing her brother like that was unbearable. Masato made random revelations. He said Akane's father had been cut off from the Amamiya family, disowned when he married Shinpei's mother. The powerful Amamiyas would never accept poor people like Shinpei's family joining them. Then Masato raised the level of humiliation. He threw a plate of food on the floor and stepped on it. He made a crude offer. Shinpei would get 500,000 yen if he ate the noodles off the floor and shouted, "Our family is a disgrace to the great Amamiyas." Masato reminded Shinpei he was doing this for his sister, so for her sake, he should be able to do this last task, right? Shinpei began to speak the cruel words as tears came to his eyes. He kept his end of the bargain and started eating the food from the floor. Akane couldn't bear to watch and closed her eyes. Masato reached the peak of his sadism. Finally, Akane hit her emotional limit and ran out. Everything happens for a reason. The spectacle was painful, but it ended Akane's doubts. She would no longer waste time saying she wouldn't attend Seiwa because she was poor. Now she vowed she would go to Seiwa at any cost. The next day, we visit the Takaoka workshop. The interview wasn't only for Akane. Shinpei had to prepare too. He studied the etiquette guide for interviews so he wouldn't embarrass Akane. The boss and Tetsu tested him, asking Shinpei to read a passage. He seemed uncomfortable reading the kanji. At last it was time to go. Shinpei set the booklet aside. The boss asked if Akane was really coming. After all, she had always opposed studying at Seiwa. Shinpei reaffirmed his belief that she would attend. Shinpei set off for the interview. The journey was long, but they finally reached another milestone. Nothing bad could happen now, right? Let's check on our favorite student. We're back at the cemetery where Akane talks to her parents. Even in heaven, Akane and Shinpei's parents can't rest from their children. Akane reflects on what brought her here, how Shinpei decided she would study at Seiwa, how she fought with him over it. Now she's grateful for everything Shinpei did for her, and she's ready to take the final step. She says goodbye to her parents and heads to the admissions interview, humming and happy. But she shouldn't have been so distracted. There's the sound of a collision. Akane was hit by a taser while an unknown car barreled toward her. The car braked hard and Akane fell unconscious. It was the rural couple's work. They'd executed their plan and immobilized Akane. Now they would kidnap her. Akane regained consciousness sometime later but didn't know where she was. She examined the place. It looked like an ordinary house. A threatening figure appeared behind her and asked if she'd woken up. Was it another disgusting adult wanting Akane's body? Thank God, no. The figure was the woman from the rural couple. The woman said Akane would be held until the interview time ended, then she'd be released without trouble. Akane was furious and tried to escape. She battered the door violently, hoping someone would hear and free her. But she wasn't understanding the situation properly. She was vulnerable in that situation. The woman had taken to her husband's taser. She brandished it, and you can guess what happened next. Akane was shocked again. Let's pause to see Shinpei. He was already at the school for the interview and growing anxious. Time was running out and Akane hadn't appeared. Then the vice principal arrived and told Shinpei the principal was on her way for the interview. She asked whether his sister had arrived. Shinpei said she was late but should be there soon. But the vice principal's question was theater. She counted on the rural couple's actions and expected Akane wouldn't show. Shinpei didn't know anything. Could he save his sister this time? Akane was badly weakened from repeated shocks. The husband taunted her because villains enjoy that. He echoed his wife. Akane only needed to wait until the interview time ended. Their daughter would take the spot, and then they'd release the girl. The exposition made Akane finally understand the situation. She challenged the couple, calling them cowards. She argued about all the suffering her brother had gone through to give her this chance. The couple cared only about their own daughter's success. Akane was at a disadvantage. Provoking them only brought more aggression. She took another shock. She couldn't endure more. She was nearly debilitated. The husband loved playing with the taser and gave her more shocks for pure sadism. Akane taunted them again, declaring she would never give up. The couple felt challenged by a girl who was tied up and about to faint. Then the husband tried a decisive attack. This time, Akane chose to accept the pain if it meant both of them would get hurt. She grabbed the attacker's arm while the taser was active. They both suffered the electric shock, but it seemed enough to drop the husband. Akane had knocked him down. The wife prioritized helping her husband over retaliating, and Akane seized the moment to escape. She freed her hands and ran toward Seiwa. Back at the school, time was running out. Shinpei was with the vice principal and the principal trying to buy time, asking them to wait a little longer. The vice principal was confident of her victory. Punctuality was a Seiwa value, and Akane was late and disheveled. Shinpei claimed he'd check the corridors in case Akane was lost. He left searching for Akane, perhaps to avoid letting those women see him break down. Shinpei began to cry, fearing Akane might have given up. Then a figure appeared from the distance. Shinpei squinted. It was Akane. She had arrived. She was in terrible shape, but she hadn't abandoned Shinpei's dream. Now her dream too. After so much suffering, now that she felt safe in Shinpei's presence, she fainted in his arms. The principal's compassion won out. She approved Akane's admission and said the vice principal could explain why the girl arrived late and battered. Another defeat for that proud vice principal left her deeply upset. After this episode, let's see how the Amamiya siblings are doing. Akane appears wearing the Seiwa school uniform. She asks Shinpei if she looks pretty. You don't need me to translate his answer. After that first glimpse of student Akane, she carefully stores her new uniform. Shinpei asks her to do her best at her new school. Akane smiles and says yes. Shinpei bursts into tears at being called brother. He's very emotional. And so we end the adventures of Akane Goes to School. But the Amamiya siblings saga has barely begun. Let's keep following what other challenges life will throw at them.